Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of the Caffeinated Librarians. We are continuing with our classic watch series, and my pick for today was the 1952 film Come Back, Little
Sheba.
It's Come Back, Little
Don't
Sheba.
ruin my Oreo. Here,
With Shirley Wood and Burt Lancaster, and it's wonderful.
Shirley Booth.
What did I say?
Shirley Wood. Shirley Booth.
She surely would enjoy this movie.
I'm afraid I hit the mic, but I'll try later. Okay,
I'm right here. I can throw it at him.
all right. So, for those who are unfamiliar with the film, it is available on Canopy. So if you haven't yet downloaded our app, Canopy is wonderful. A lot of great films.
It's free. All you need is a library card.
Yes.
From
So,
Mohopat.
yeah. So it stars Shirley Booth as Lola Delaney, Burt Lancaster as Doc Delaney, Terry Moore as Marie Buckholder, Richard Jekyll as Turk Fisher, Edwin
That's who played Turk.
Edwin Max as Elmo Fuchs.
I gotta say, Doc's parents were really smart naming him that, knowing he pursued medicine.
I mean, it's not real. He ain't no real dog. He's a chiropractor. That's what his wife said.
And Philip Ober as Ed Anderson. So, yeah. So what did you... I was going to talk briefly about what the film is about, but I'm going to skip that.
You should talk about what the film's about
first,
before we decide to go into our opinion.
Yeah,
All right.
just log line, you know?
Yeah.
I'll try... Okay, fine.
A very, very brief synopsis of the movie.
I had 2 paragraphs.
This is an older
No,
film,
it could be much
so-
briefer than that. It could be like 2 sentences.
I had 3 now.
Oh my goodness.
4.
This
I
is
have a wiki definition.
it's a melodrama, you know?
Yeah.
Classic in that style, but a little different in that these people seem to be a little more struggling. And, like financially, I mean. And
I wrote out my thing and everything. I was so proud, and now I do the Wikipedia one.
Fine. This is the little blurb here. Is like 2 decades after their hasty wedding, Doc and Lola are stuck in a deadening and loveless marriage. Doc, who dropped out of medical school when Lola got pregnant, blames Lola for the loss of his life's dream. Lola, who never recovered emotionally from the miscarriage she suffered shortly after their wedding, still mourns the loss of her beloved dog, Sheba. When a beautiful young lodger enters their home, long-repressed emotions explode.
Which is something similar to what I had.
That actually answered some of my questions about this movie.
So, what did you guys think?
Well, let's start with you,
Yes.
since this was your pick.
Okay.
We would love
Why
to
did
know.
you choose this film?
Well, I was talking to Katie.
We are about to analyze the out of you, by the way.
Yes, we are.
That's fine.
There's some questions.
That is fine. I have my coffee on my
Analyzation station, population U.
And
That's fine. So, so one of the reasons why I really enjoy this film...
Analyzation's not a word, huh?
No.
No, damn.
Just let Simona talk. Stop interrupting. You're welcome.
So, one of the reasons why
Makes
I
me
love...
want to interrupt even more.
So one of the-
Analyzation is a word.
Is it?
The act of...
Thank you, Amanda.
Or an instance of analyzing something.
Thank you, Amanda.
It bugged me. Use a word.
Thank you.
Okay.
Simona,
I'll get back my notes eventually. So...
speak from your heart.
Why
So
did
one of the reasons why I really love this film is because of the themes that it addresses, which I would also think at the time, especially since it deals with premarital sex, some of the consequences that come with premarital sex, as in Lola getting pregnant out of wedlock, Lola and Doc then having to get married as a result of that. Also, Doc's sort of attachment to Marie, because he views her as innocent in spite of some of the obvious signs that she is more experienced than he would have himself believe.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he sort of sees her as not a substitute, but
Surrogate.
yeah. I was thinking back to when Lola and Doc are alone in their living room and they're listening to music, and Lola is trying to bring back the memories of that night that they went for a dance. And Doc is very
That's how she dances.
is very reluctant to sort of go down memory lane, but Lola, because she is a woman suffering from depression, she understandably, the miscarriage was very it took a toll on her mentally. Her dog became a substitute for the child that she lost, and then she ended up losing the dog. her relationship with Doc has deteriorated. He's an alcoholic. He is going to AA, but he obviously still understandably struggles with his alcoholism, but he does not really want to talk to Lola about that. There are many scenes where Lola attempts to sort of draw something out of Doc. She wants a connection, which is, I think, what I find heartbreaking too. And the actress does a terrific job, is that you can see it in her voice, the pain that she's feeling. You can hear it in her voice, her expressions. She's trying to connect with a man that she loves, who is essentially sort of distancing himself from her. And going back to Marie, he kind of sees her as what he probably thinks Lola should have been. Obviously, it takes two to tango. Lola didn't impregnate herself. Doc was also responsible. But in his mind, he kind of, like, one of the things that breaks my heart is when she's talking about, I was pretty, Doc. Do you remember when we were dating? And, like, I think she says, I saved all my dances for you. He goes, well, as far as I know. So hinting at, like, you could have been a little bit of a, I don't want to say slut, but that's exactly
He
what.
called her that. He legit called her
Yeah,
that. I
like,
was wow.
that's almost
like
what
3
he's
times.
Yeah, what he's insinuating, or like, and Lola, like, it's heartbreaking. She's like, no, you can't possibly believe that. And then she actually starts crying, and that's when he really just, like, is like, stop dwelling on the past. So long story short, the characters, the story, and the emotions that the actors are able to evoke, they make you believe it, and that's why I chose this film. It is very heartbreaking, but at the end there's a hint where I think Doc is finally appreciating Lola for what she has done for him and how she supports him, in spite of the fact that it's hinted at before you actually see him violently explode on her, that he has been violent in the past with her, and that fear still lingers. And even, like, with some of her mannerisms, when she's, like, approaching him, like, she's wringing her hands, she's, like, hugging herself, she basically wants to, I think, also address the trauma that she suffered as well, like, when he was explosive and violent, maybe even physically violent towards her. But he's reluctant to even admit his culpability. So yeah, it's the themes that the film addresses, it's the questions that it sort of poses, and yeah, I think for the time, especially some of the depictions, especially with Turk and Marie, like the overt sensuality, the overt sort of, the fact that what Turk wants from Marie. He's not interested in her intellectual capabilities. He wants to have sex with her. That's frankly all that he wants from her. And the fact that that's even addressed, especially in a film of this time, is also, I don't know. So yeah, that's why I like the film.
So what do you think of that ending?
I believe that it sort of, it hints at even what Doc said before, that his life is a work in progress, that alcoholics, they don't magically get healed. That even though he may not touch alcohol, that doesn't detract from the fact that he is an alcoholic.
They probably should have thrown that stuff away. Like, he's, like, sniffing the whiskey and...
But I think but I think it was basically for him to tell himself that even in the face of temptation, I can try to resist it.
If you're
but
an
you should get rid of the
alcoholic, you
temptation.
need to get rid of all alcohol in the house, because
I'm assuming, though, at that time, maybe the way alcoholism was regarded, or the treatments for it, maybe now, I'm sure, no one would suggest cover your cabinets full of alcohol.
Well, that's why
Maybe
AA,
at the time,
you now have, like, usually, it's like a buddy system, in a sense,
a
for, like,
sponsor.
a sponsored
Yeah.
program. So,
Yeah.
unless he's committed an actual, like, not saying domestic violence isn't an actual crime, it is a crime, but maybe then it wasn't as big or a crime that you really targets a private in your home
Right.
kind of matter.
It's not something the police got called for.
Unless it's like
Yeah.
a police mandated thing where he had like a parole officer come to his
Yeah.
house. I don't know, the people running them seem to be like, he helped the people who run like the AA, it looked like, in like the dead of the night. I don't know, they all look like mafiosos to their like, let's
Oh,
go in the
well,
middle of the
you-
night.
This is
Where
how
are we
guys
driving
dressed
to?
back then.
They're like,
man.
we're doing some AA stuff. I'm like,
I
are
think,
you?
I think it was because he says that he goes to like the hospitals, and a lot of the times, like, he was saying that they house the alcoholics with the mentally insane.
They did.
yeah,
And he basically goes there as like a support and basically as an encouragement.
because they're going through detox.
Exactly, yeah. So, one of the reasons why I love the ending is because there's also a hint that Doc is probably moving past the past in many ways, or his anger towards Lola, which is not justified because, like I said, Lola didn't impregnate herself, and his views of Lola also, that almost she was like this seductress that tempted him away from his upright moral ideals. It's also suggested that she's probably of a lower economic status. He came from a well-off family. Her family has essentially cut her off because another heartbreaking moment when she calls her mom, and her mom essentially, I'm sure, tells her, no, it's best that you stay at your own home. So she doesn't even have her parents.
Wedlock was never a accepted thing.
Yeah, but I mean, they got married. They tried to make it right, but I guess for her parents, they didn't approve of Doc. I think she
said
like
they
her-
never approved him. It's like
Yeah.
It seems like her father didn't really approve. The
Yeah.
mother was. It seemed like she was willing to go there. The mother was like, "It's not a good idea for you to come here, but I'll come there." I got the vibe that
Yeah, no, it was her father
Yeah.
that didn't want her
Lola
at the
has-
house.
Yeah.
So because her father didn't want her at the house, her mother wasn't going to say,
makes him look bad.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's yeah.
Lola has daddy issues.
She got a lot of other issues too.
What do you mean?
I'm just
Vocabulary
saying.
being
Would
one
not
of them.
stop saying that word.
Yeah.
Daddy.
But I think that's just a term of endearment. I think that was
No.
it was a term of endearment.
It was uncomfortable. I didn't like
She
it.
said it. I was about to I think a good 20 minutes in the film. I was already she's already said daddy
I'd say
10
I'd say
times.
over 75 times she said it throughout the movie.
100. I want to go with 100.
Yeah.
She kept calling him
but-
daddy.
I think.
Isn't that right, daddy?
I found a letterbox review with a count. They said
They did.
48.
48.
Are you sure? Because it didn't sound like 40.
She must have said 37 of those in the first half hour.
I mean, I understand
I mean,
it.
no, I think it's the reason why she called him daddy was because when she was pregnant, he was going to be daddy. He was going to be the
Well, that's
daddy of
usually
her
when you would call,
child.
you call
And you would
the
call-
mama or papa or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that in
and
the
then
house.
when she lost the baby, it was so traumatizing for her that she couldn't get out of
Yeah.
calling
If
him
anyone
daddy.
other than my spawn calls me daddy, I
I mean,
am
that's
leaving.
the new thing, right? It's the new thing.
And I'm obviously joking around. Like it didn't detract from the movie for me.
yeah.
I mean, I know, like you said that
kinda
that
turned
the
me off
ending
several times.
had a sense of hope to it. I didn't see that. I didn't
Yeah,
see that. There
I
was
think
hope.
in like a
I'm
year
with
they're
you
going to
there.
be the couple from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
And I mean, that's
I don't think
extreme.
that house is getting any better.
So seeing that and seeing how they dealt with it, it kind of just hits too close to home for me. So I liked the movie, but at the same time, as it was handled in the way that it was handled back then in 1952, it just did not sit well for me.
I tend to agree. I thought the ending was a little bleaker. I
Yeah.
thought it was not so much him realizing his mistakes as much as him almost blaming her for his mistakes without blaming her really.
Well, he says one thing in the beginning of the movie that kind of stuck with me. That was I guess you could put into that. So when they go to the AA meeting, they talk about he mentions he's the reason why men become alcoholics
Yeah.
is because I think it's unsatisfied
Yeah.
or unfulfilled or something like that, unsatisfied.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's clearly going to be important later on in the
Yeah.
in the subject. I'm like, let's go
and
with
I
that.
mean, it's not like Lola or
It's like
Doc
in
is
separate
going
bits.
to get. Well, that was the time.
I know. I was like,
Lola did nothing wrong.
No,
I
but-
feel
well,
like
it was just annoying.
the ending of the movie kind of
I hated her.
saw her as more culpable
Yeah.
than I
Yeah.
Wow,
have to
am
say.
I the only?
because they weren't going to divorce,
Well, maybe I'll
And-
clarify because
and he, it's like he comes
If he
back.
divorces her, she's got nowhere to go.
Right, she has nowhere to go, and
Well-
and he comes back and he's worried, and it doesn't come across as being worried that she's going to leave him. I think the way I saw it was that he was more worried that she was going to leave him for falling off the wagon and threatening her in a drunken state with a knife.
Which would have been fair, to be fair,
Definitely.
And
in today's time.
I think at that point it would have been fair. I think at any point in time that would have been fair.
right, and the fact that she doesn't is I think the more heartbreaking part of this story.
And I definitely understand that. And maybe I'll clarify. I didn't mean that his alcoholism is cured, or that's not what I meant. I didn't mean to say that he has a realization and boom, he's no longer a raging alcoholic. No. What I meant is that probably there's a hint that he has sort of, because part of the hang-up that he has throughout the film is that he cannot let go of the past.
Right.
He cannot let go of the
Neither of them
aspirations.
can let go of
Well, I mean,
that
that's
he
the
had.
problem.
She
Yeah.
watches the young girl have relations with the other guy, and she admits it. And he's
Nice.
like, "Wait, what? You're watching them?" She's like, "Yeah, it reminds me of like the older day." And I'm like, "Lady." Oh. She admits to doing it multiple times.
What an awful relationship to have with your landlord.
Right?
Can I just say
Like
that?
it's she has the door closed, and imagine your landlord just comes over and is like, "Oh, here's a what is it, an Airbnb situation?"
Yeah,
now
can
you're
you
like, "Oh my
imagine if
God."
whatever was happening in your romantic life had effects on your landlord's mental health? Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same, I mean, like looking at Lola, at what her life has become, it's really just very.
Being lonely.
It shows.
Oh, yeah, I
it
was joking
shows
around
her
with that.
loneliness.
I'm
It
not.
shows her depression. It shows her. It shows the fact that she feels stuck in this loveless marriage, and nothing's going to change because she doesn't feel like she has anywhere else to go because her father doesn't want her at the house. Her mother is essentially culpable in that because she won't tell her husband, no, my daughter wants to come home, let her come home, kind of a thing. So, yeah, as I said,
No,
I
I
liked
think
the
it's-
movie, but at the same time, it's like this movie hit a little close to home for me.
And that's understandable. It's also, when you consider the times, there would have been certain expectations, especially of women, not saying they're right or they're wrong. So I think the film is also a reflection of those societal expectations. I think she
Right.
would have been expected to sort of stand by her man, regardless of whether or not at that point it's like, okay, he just threatened me with a knife.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
like at the same time, I think the movie recognizes this is a terrible situation. But
No,
then
Yeah.
the resolution is just like, just
Let's
accept
forget
it.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
yeah.
so that whole dream sequence thing at the end. I was very confused by it. I had a totally different interpretation of it.
I really
than-
like your interpretation. Though.
Yeah? Thank
yeah.
you.
No, I find it interesting.
Thank you.
What was
That's-
your interpretation?
So, I'll share what I found out online about the interpretation. The interpretation of it online was that by Sheba dying in the dream, Lola is accepting the past and moving forward, which is absolving Doc of any wrongdoing, and they're moving forward in a seemingly happy marriage. That's the interpretation that most people have online.
Which would be a good base
Yeah.
interpretation of being able to conflict, like
Yeah.
coming to terms with the fact, like kind of accepting that the thing is dead by viewing the thing as dead and being like, okay, it's dead.
Yeah.
There's not much I can do about it.
It's over. You know,
It's over.
it's over. We're going to move on.
Fair
We're going to
enough.
be happy,
It's okay.
which again, the three of us, I don't know about Amanda, but the three of us watched it and said, there's no way that's going to be a happy marriage. So I interpreted the dream as she mentioned something about, Mary's there and everything like that. And Mary symbolizes a younger her. And then she says Turk is there, but Doc replaces Turk. So Turk is this kind of douchey guy. Doc is this douchey guy that replaces him. She is ultimately replaced by Sheba, who dies, meaning that the relationship is going to ultimately lead to her death.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it. Like
Oh,
when
that's a good interpretation, though.
Statistically.
and I
it
overthink
probably
things a
will.
lot like that.
But I just like that because that's like almost like the Shakespeare scenes where like the fool or the jester will lay down some metaphor at that like sort
Damn
of
those jesters.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speak of truth.
So it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm looking at it from the year 2023, where we've had social change.
Right.
And the interpretations that I was reading are interpretations of how I guess the filmmakers were really trying to present it. It's interesting that most of us watch it and say, wow, there's no way that's going to end up being a happy marriage.
Yeah.
While that's what the filmmakers' intention was. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting dynamic, and kind of something that we haven't experienced in our classic series yet. Nothing's really been, socially kind of in that area where things have changed and how we might view things and interpret things differently.
Yeah, and I also
That's
think,
what I meant. You provoked thought.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I obviously interpret the ending differently. Maybe it's because I want to be a bit more hopeful. That's a possibility, but I interpret it differently. I also think at the time, too, I think that's the ending that probably would have been expected. This is based on a play, which I did actually go to see when I was an undergraduate in college. I went to go see the play, and I really enjoyed it. In the play, Marie and Turk actually do have sex. In the film,
Nice.
and Doc sees them, and that's what brings him over the edge. That's what, in the film, he believes they've had sex, but obviously you see that Marie realizes that Turk is not the man she should be pursuing. In the play, it's actually confirmed they have a sexual relationship.
I was under the impression, and you guys can correct me if you guys, or let me know if you guys thought differently. I was under the impression that they had been doing it.
No.
Who?
Because-
Her and Turk?
Yeah.
No.
they've just been kind of dancing around. He admits in the movie that, he's been putting in kind of effort. He's kind of respected her wishes. So the night that they have a few beers and they come back home that night, he's like, he thinks he can shoot his shot there. And she's just like, no.
Because he also says, what are you saving it for? And that's when she gets mad. She's like, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
And
he's like, then don't come teasing around me no more,
yeah,
baby.
because she's obviously very flirtatious.
That line was great for me. I thought it was funny.
But I think
Don't come teasing around me.
it also goes to show how men and women interpret certain things a little different. Because she's obviously flirtatious. Let's not sort of. She is a
They're in
flirtatious.
college.
Yeah.
She's young.
But she also.
Yeah.
I think also the fact that she has Turk and then she has that other guy that's the
Bruce.
more upstanding one of the two.
The one who looks very much older.
Yeah. So so I
Looks like her
interpreted.
father.
I interpreted the ending
I don't think
differently,
he was
and
that
also
old.
going
That old.
back
He
to
had wrinkles.
and
I just want to talk about the acting in it because I really love Shirley Booth.
Shirley
Yeah.
She
Booth
was
is great.
killing it.
Yeah.
And it just I don't know. She was very, I don't know. She felt real in a way you
Yes.
don't often see in these kinds of movies.
Yes.
She just looks like a lady you'd meet on
Yeah.
the street, and I like that a lot. I hated that she kept calling herself fat. I know her character just has low
It was
self-esteem,
Fat, old, and sloppy.
but she just isn't. She's totally average.
Yeah.
For the
In
time
fact,
period,
when-
she would have been considered.
When
Fat.
Bruce is sitting at the table
Yeah.
and she squeaks by, I'm like, wow, she's definitely not fat. She was able to. I was like, I'd have to
It's also part of her. She's a woman with
No, I
depression and
understand.
Oh yeah, no, she is.
self-esteem.
Yeah,
It's-
she's.
But
They
that's what
literally
makes it
describe her as
heartbreaking.
being a frumpy, middle-aged housewife. And I think the
Rude.
woman next door was pretty brutal about it at the end when they're setting up the dinner table. She's like, oh, and here I thought, Mrs. Delaney was
Oh, the vaguely European
she's
neighbor.
a German. She's a German
Oh,
actress.
she's German.
She's
That
a
was
German
it?
actress.
I could not place the voice.
I had
was
to look
like-
it up because I was like, yo, where's she from?
But I think
She
it's
was-
also
she-
it's in line with the times
Yeah, it
because
is.
and I'm not excusing her calling her frumpy or saying but I
She didn't
also,
call her frumpy. She just said she was like
know,
She was a good for
She was
nothing.
basically like a good for nothing.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
also
she can't clean.
as the housewife, there would have been certain expectations, and I think there was also this idea that the way to because obviously I don't know what the understanding of mental illness and depression was like, so I don't want to pass judgment.
It
I
wasn't
don't know.
good.
It wasn't
Yeah.
good. It was
It's something to be
essentially
frowned upon.
non-existent.
Yeah.
And no one talked about it.
So I think in her mind she was saying, there's a
I
way
wouldn't say
to
no one. Psychiatry was was starting in like
Psychiatry
the
was
1910s or so.
starting-
Like,
Yeah.
it was a
way.
concept.
But no one talked about it
Yeah.
in families.
Yeah,
it's
but
something- it
like
was something they
I don't
shared.
know. I don't like the idea of just like no, there was nothing like because
They
like
were
there
definitely working
were
on treatments. They
Yeah.
were definitely working on treatments, although
Treatments that weren't
as
good.
inhumane. And but because of those, we unfortunately now have better.
So I think also
Methods.
her suggestion
But
that
Still not right.
the way to overcome your lethargy or your feeling of restlessness, because it starts the scene where she goes to the neighbor, Mrs. Kaufman, I believe, and she says, I keep on thinking about my little Sheba. She says, but you must be so busy with your little girl. It must be so nice to have a little girl. So the woman has something that she was robbed of. The woman as a child, she has no child. The Sheba became her substitute. She lost that substitute. So the woman says, the way to get over your loss of the dog is work. She's like, work, keep busy, idle mind, devil's playground. You need to basically keep busy. And for some people,
Just forget it.
that
It's a
does
dog.
help. I think if, like, with some of my family, I can see where the minute there's like idle or they're like, they fester, and it's sort of like, it's gonna say, okay, well, find something for the moment to distract yourself. So I think that's also, we could consider it, she's being very harsh and unsympathetic, but I also think she's trying to help her in her
Yes.
own way. I think she's trying to say, yes, you have these, but you need to do something, like keep busy. And she really isn't doing anything. She spends most of her day, she's not watching Marie and Turk. She's not, her days aren't spent really.
She's
Sits
listening
on
to
the couch. She
listening
lays
to that
on the
weird
couch and
radio
does her
show.
little.
Yeah, because like I
Fancy.
said, she's trapped in the past. One could almost picture she was this vibrant young woman with potential. Like, we don't know what, and, one night where they sort of gave in to these passionate feelings and
What do
it
you-
sort of
what do
Got
you
a
mean?
baby.
What do you mean?
they
I think it's,
Lou knows what I mean.
They had a night of passion. God.
I think this movie also shows what generational trauma looks like.
Yeah.
It puts it out there. If
I wouldn't go that far.
Really?
Generational would mean you'd have to stem this all the way back. Like, her mom had the same thing happen to her.
I-
like, her mom.
I
had
think the whole
a
calling the
situation.
mother
Yeah.
scene was implying that.
I attribute like generational trauma to being like your grandmother or like her great grandmother, and it's passed down from generation to generation, not like one, like your mom to you.
Well-
but then
Well,
again, I guess
but,
you could.
I mean,
no,
it's
I,
just-
yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
all she's got is her mom,
So,
So I thought that the whole reason for that whole phone call was to suggest that.
Yeah, because if there wasn't any generational trauma, the mom would have been like, yeah, come home. But because there is, and because she won't stick up to her husband, stick up, like tell her husband, not tell her husband off, but tell him, no, she's coming home. That's generational trauma. She's not letting her daughter come home because her father doesn't want her home.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, just going back to her acting, I mean, it really was, she really had some genuinely heartbreaking lines and scenes. I mean, when she's talking about the dog, I mean, even that is just really
The
heartbreaking.
moment with the postman, how she's yearning for connection, so she keeps him longer than what's
that man
necessary.
looked like he wanted out.
Yeah,
and
that
I was
was-
like, I get it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like I've been in his situation before, where I'm like, where somebody's just talking at you, and you're like, God,
yeah.
I gotta get out of this somehow.
You're like, I have
Like,
a job to do. He has a legit job to do. He's got to deliver the mail.
Yeah.
On
But
a
yeah.
lighter note, can we talk about how scary a drunk chiropractor must be? You're walking out there paralyzed.
Must be terrible.
The sober chiropractors can give you a stroke, never mind a drunk one.
My spine. I went in to fix my spine. Now it's broken in 3 places.
Bert, I thought was pretty good, but not his best performance.
I don't think I've seen him in anything.
I think he gives a much better performance as a drunk in a movie called The Swimmer.
Okay.
That's from like late '60s, so he's older in it.
This
but
was supposed to be his unglamorous role because he was like
We
he was
all
a
have
very
that bad
handsome
role.
man. But this was supposed to be the role where it wasn't about how good looking he was. So and also
This
yeah,
man was a giant.
he was.
Oh yeah,
How did
he's
he
a big
fit
dude.
in that house?
But
The doorways work.
I
on
watched
this.
him walk up the stairs like 3 times in that movie, and I'm just, he had a little slump over, and I'm like, he's too big for this house.
Which maybe could be symbolic now that you mention it.
I'm upset. There's a closet on the stairs they never opened, and I was like,
Oh,
what's
yes.
in the door?
Amanda.
What's in the door?
Amanda, you and I sometimes we just
What's
are
in the door?
on the same wavelength.
Secrets.
There can't be anything. There's a window next to it, unless that juts out of the house, and there's just a random
It could just be a linen
berth,
closet.
a random but
like a
but the
coat closet
windows
sometimes.
there, like there'd have to be more.
It's a
to the
symbol
outside
of their
the house.
relationship. They're closed off. They're closed off
All
of
right,
love.
Who did the set design for this?
Closed
Yeah.
off of love.
Yeah, I don't. If there weren't a window there, you could make the argument that the house goes out further.
Did you also think that Marie
But
was
there's
a
a
little
window.
selfish in like?
Oh,
she was
it's
showing
just-
her the bedroom and,
and
being
just
like,
saying,
so
like,
this
I'm
is
gonna
where
ta-
you'll be.
I'm gonna take
and
this
she's
for-
like, no, I want the cool sun porch down. I wanted a
No,
studio.
to be fair, she asked that, and then Doc was just like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
To be fair, Doc heard. He was like, "Who's that?" And she's like, "Yeah, I saw a girl this afternoon. Why? Oh, because I'm renting out the space upstairs." And he was like, "What?" He looked like he did not want that, and she did it anyway.
And then he sees her,
I also don't
and
think
he's thirsting, and he's like, "Okay, yeah." You
I
can-
don't think Doc hears anything she says either. I
Yeah.
think that man's been on autopilot for a long
feel
time.
that. No offense, Simona. Like I tuned out of this movie so many times. I had to go back and rewatch.
Oh, I
certain
wouldn't say that. I was in.
Shirley Booth was really annoying to me, and because she droned, and I get why.
I mean, yeah,
I
that's
understood why because
intentional,
as I was
like-
like, okay, there has to be a reason why she keeps droning on and on and on, and a part of me was just like, I feel that now because I would tune her out too. I would sit there like.
Amanda coming in with Doc was right.
Look, no, I'm not saying he was right,
Justified.
but I feel him. You ever just been like, you've been with a friend and you meet someone new for the first time? and they
Amanda's
just-
like, I
You
would
ask them, hey, how was your day? And they go, oh, it was great. This happened, this happened, this happened. Hey, let's talk about my high school days. And you're just like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, and then eventually you just kind of
Because
phase out.
to be fair though, yes, Lola can come across as maybe overbearing, but to be fair,
I do also do
Doc
that as
is
well, so
failing in
what's-
his responsibilities as her husband. He legit has decided, yes, I'm checked out because I'm bitter and resentful.
To be fair, he was reading the newspaper first. And she started droning, and I was
Because
like,
the
I'm the same way
newspaper is-
with Brian sometimes.
Also-
I'll be reading
Because
something,
the-
and I'm like, can you, like, give me 2 seconds, and I will
Because
be
the
right with
newspaper
you.
is his way. Because let's be fair too, like
His
when he's
newspaper is his way of like distancing her. This
He's
is
admiring
the barrier.
Turk's
Don't
awesome
bother
physique.
Also, when he's drunk, right? Which we should talk about his drunk.
I
First
thought
off,
the movie was
Way
picking
too
up at
all
that
right,
point. I
let's
was like,
let's talk about drunk Doc. First off, he doesn't seem to enjoy alcohol.
well, and
He's miserable.
because he doesn't
Right.
want to go back into it. He spent a year trying to be sober, and so you go back, and so there's that sense of guilt that's probably eating him and going
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
and withdrawal.
he's not the kind of drunk you want to hang out with.
No,
You
he's
want
a
to hang
bad
out
one.
with William H. Macy from Shameless. That's who you want to hang out with. You know what I mean? You could end up in Mexico. You know what I mean?
I want to go back. Let's go.
Yeah. This guy just was like just miserable. And then so he comes in and he says, "Give me the morning paper." And she says, "We don't get a morning paper." Do they get a nightly? Were there nightly papers?
You usually
Yeah,
pay for a
usually there was
subscription.
a like
really?
morning and evening. edition.
Are there still? Is it?
I don't think anymore.
Oh,
Because I think the
Southern.
internet sort of killed that because if you need to update something
should
during the
know, but I
day,
don't.
you can just
Oh,
yeah.
all right. Well, that was
And
my
then-
biggest question.
And then the radio would also broadcast the
And, like,
newsreels.
Yeah, if
but it
something big
wasn't
happened, there'd be an
anything-
extra edition, which is
Yeah.
why, like, in movies, you always hear newsboys going, like, extra, extra, read all about it. Like,
Check
yeah.
out this awesome headline.
No idea about it.
so in this drunk part, that was the issue you had.
I was like,
paper.
the morning paper? That's the only time you get the paper.
I'm not gonna lie, this movie. So, y'all talked about this in-depth analysis. It took me a couple times to really understand the plot of this movie because through her ramblings and my tuning out occasionally,
This was
Amanda-
not a complicated plot,
Yeah.
Amanda.
And
it
I was
wasn't
gonna say-
complicated, but I kept missing. So for a while, I was like, okay, so why is it called "Come Back, Little Sheba"? In the first part of the movie,
She talks about the dog like 10 times.
In the
Okay.
first scene.
No, I understand that, but when I was like, I was like, okay, I'm starting the movie. I'm like, let's find out why this is called like "Come Back, Little Sheba." And so you see a dog running forward, And she talks about the dog. So I was like, okay, so Sheba was a dog. And I was like, cool.
Okay,
But
so-
then the more she kept talking, and the more she started kind of opening up about their lives in the past, I was like, was Sheba the dead child?
I think it could be a symbol of that.
I
yeah.
know, and I didn't really pick that up for a while because she talked so much that I was like, I'm having such a hard time.
Yeah, but Amanda,
I
I
couldn't do it. She talked so
She
much.
stated the themes of the movie to
I
you.
was
That's what she
super
was
zoning
saying.
with Bird in the corner, like, I get it, man, I get it, and I do this too, so I understand people's annoyance with it too. But I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm
but-
trying to understand her, and I eventually did understand everything that was, I finally, like, pieced everything together, and I was like, oh, thank God. But at the
Amanda's
same
like,
time-
maybe Sheba needs something more.
You do
I was like,
understand.
who names their kid Sheba? And then I
But-
realized at the end she talks about the dog more, and I'm like, okay, because I was like, okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. Because, as I said, I actually had to, like, go online. I was like, okay, so what? I was like, I was missing some pieces.
Who is Sheba?
Yeah, but
I
Amanda.
thought Sheba was the dog, but then she started slightly going into, like, child talk, and I was like, so does she have, maybe, I thought maybe she had some trauma from, like, a miscarriage. I had to piece that together on my own.
Yeah. And
Before she mentioned
Oh,
the miscarriage,
okay.
before she
Got it,
mentioned it,
gotcha.
I was like, maybe, because
Yeah,
initially,
'cause
like,
before
when
she
Marie
brings it up,
enters-
Marie says something about it. Like, oh, I think
Yeah.
they had a child, but they passed away or something.
Yeah. So I kind of was like, in the beginning, I was piecing it together because when Marie enters the picture, I looked at how the family kind of reacted with her. I thought that, like, Doc initially didn't really want to have this girl in their house. And he was like, whatever, rah, grumpy.
See,
But
I thought
then,
he was going to go for
But
it.
then,
he was
I
gonna-
thought it might be that way too, but then he started treating her like a daughter. So part of me was trying to, in my opinion, because he started smiling.
I think it's both at once there.
I didn't try to
yeah.
take it as that, okay? Because I thought, okay, this is clearly about these two and their struggling marriages and them being stuck in the past. I picked up those themes. But he, like, started, like, opening up and smiling. So I thought, oh, maybe they, like, lost somebody. And they haven't really said anything just yet. And I was like, maybe... And I was piecing it together. But then, like, some weird shit was starting to happen, with Turk. And then he started acting more like a father, like, I don't approve of that, boy.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, no, wait. Oh, first off, she was trying to defend Turk. And I was like, no. Boy's a player. No, you're in the wrong, Shirley. No, Lola. He was a bad boy from the start.
I just had a thought. But I know Katie had a thought, so I don't want to what was Katie's thought? I don't want to...
I was just gonna say, Amanda, you do realize that the reason why she drones on and on is because she's lonely and is
No,
in
I
desperate need
understood
for
that. She
connection.
talked so
There's
much, I
no-
understood that. She
there's
invited
no-
a
there's
random
no
mailman into
sympathy.
her house.
There's no sympathy.
There was no sympathy in the beginning because she just annoyed me.
I need to stop
so-
recommending films. Is essentially
I
what
think-
people
No,
are
for the
saying.
most part, I've really enjoyed
I
the films
enjoyed
you
the
Yeah, I
movie.
actually-
I
Yeah,
actually
I
just
watched
had
the
a
one I
different
wasn't a part of. What was it,
interpretation.
Kala?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I really liked that movie. I didn't get to talk about it
Which
with you guys.
movie?
Kala.
Oh, that one was okay.
I liked that one. I like
I
most of the movies you picked. It's just I'm not a
Oh,
I
thank
didn't
you,
grow
Amanda.
up like I guess really watching anything like black and white or old or anything like that. I'm very new to
That's
a lot of
fine.
older films. If I have to watch an older film, it's usually one that I'm like, oh, it's like a cult following horror movie one. I'll watch that. And that's basically where my my line goes, and that's where I've been. So
You're missing a lot, Amanda.
I'm sure, but I just can't really
I
get
just
into
thought of a
it.
new
I guess
series for us, but I'll talk about
What's
this
the new
afterwards.
series?
I'll talk about it afterwards.
I can't really get into
And-
it. That's it. And
Yeah.
so this movie, I don't know. I just did not. And so I was talking to Brian's mom, who watches a ton of classic films because those are the movies she grew up with. And she didn't like Shirley Booth either. She thought she was like on that show, I guess Hazel,
Yeah.
and she played like kind of like another character that seemed kind of like nosy, and she played like a housemaid, and
Yeah.
it was about her. And she's like, I never really liked her. She's like, she's kind of annoying at like the parts they
like
gave her
Hazel.
were annoying.
I like Hazel.
Yeah, I think Hazel's a funny character.
I've never heard of Hazel, but I liked
It's just a
Shirley Booth in
sitcom,
this.
yeah.
I just
It's a sitcom that
Couldn't
ran
do
from
it.
like 1961 to 1966.
That's fair.
I want to point out that
Mm-hmm.
we are 2 for 2 with movies shot by Jimmy Wong Howe on the classic series.
With a Thin Man.
Yeah, Thin Man was Jimmy Wong Howe. This is Jimmy Wong Howe.
Oh,
I
yeah, the
can't
Thin
believe that. That's crazy. That dude is amazing.
To be fair, that's news to me. I just legit picked this because I really enjoyed
Be
it.
honest, you Googled
You were looking up Jimmy Wong House
Yeah.
cinematography,
Yeah.
and you found.
You
No.
found me out.
But
Yeah.
Amanda, here's a movie he shot that you might enjoy. It's called Mark of the Vampire. It's
I think I know that one.
it's directed by the same director of Dracula with most of the same
Dracula?
cast.
Coppola?
The original Dracula.
Oh, the Boris.
Todd Browning.
Okay.
Not Boris Karloff.
Not
Bela
the Bela
Lugosi.
Lugosi.
And but it's about filming a vampire movie, and like there's a murder on set,
I
and
think I know
there's
this
like a
one.
murder mystery about it.
I know of it. I know of it now that I'm seeing a trailer of it. But definitely we'll probably have to check out. I don't know. I don't know. I just
And Simona, I liked this movie. I enjoyed it, but there's
No,
parts of it that
no,
like.
everyone's entitled to an opinion. I'm
also-
not offended.
I
I
also-
had to deep think after I watched the movie to understand and piece.
I
That's
did
what
too.
do.
Like I
I'm
said, it was very thought provoking for me.
No, what
Like
I
I enjoyed the movie, and it made me think about it, which I enjoyed even more.
you brought up an interesting. You brought up something about your.
Whoa, hold on. You just were starting by saying you brought up an interesting, and then you were like, you brought up something actually. So is my something not interesting, or
I'll start again. I'll start again. Lou,
yes?
you raised an interesting point in your
Yeah.
discussion of Doc's perception of Marie and how he responds to her in various stages of the film as it progresses.
Oh yeah.
So,
I thought he was into it.
well,
Like when she's making him the bacon.
I
soda
think
stuff?
it's both at once.
because
and
I
that
think he
is a very
also-
concerning thing.
because I think he projects onto her a paternal feeling, but also there is that feeling of a lover, because I think he sort of sees her as he would have liked Lola to have been, or
Yes.
as he perceived Lola in their youth.
I hate
or-
that
or
word
it's
unless it's
like-
between meat and pizza.
or it's like he
Get it?
he
Meat
looks.
lovers pizza.
Oh my god. But I think it's also too. It's like it's the past that he wish he had.
Exactly,
I think
you know.
mostly of that.
And
Yeah,
also,
agreed, yeah.
he's
What a
he's
time
harping
to
a
be
lot on, like, one thing he says is, you know, the bathroom is starting to smell like a lilac factory, and Lola goes, yeah, it's very nice, but if it bothers you, he goes, no,
He's like, not like it.
because I think also, I'm sorry, I hit the mic.
That's fine.
Because I also, like, he
Didn't even clip.
Oh, thanks. It's because, like, he constantly brings back, like, you know, even Lola says, when I was young, I was beautiful. And he goes, yeah, you were very beautiful.
Sure.
So I think he's projecting the paternal and also the feelings of almost romantic interest, because he sees her as daughter / sort of lover, which sounds awful. I can't phrase it in a better way that doesn't make it sound like incest. But you know what I'm trying to say.
No,
I think
it's sort of a creepy dynamic. Like, yeah.
So,
They're
and
both watching her as she does like really intimate things with people. Like with the night that Turk comes in, like breaks into the house to let her in because she left her key.
Again,
He's in the corner like watching. He,
nightmare
and his is-
relationship to have with your landlords.
It is the worst relationships. It's like it's cool to have like a close relationship with your landlord, like as a friend. Like cool, let's have a barbecue sometime. But then like when you let them in your house and they're watching you do things, like Doc has that misinterpretation of like he doesn't see Turk leave the house. So
Yeah,
when he
right.
goes to the door, she turns the light off, and he's like, that's when he goes into like the alcoholic like bender. At that point,
He's
he's
like, they're doing
well,
it.
why does she get to do this and I know
he doesn't even drink when she makes him the. I was gonna call it bicarb. The baking soda, he
Yeah.
dumps it.
Yeah.
I would die. I'd be like,
Because she has also ruined the illusion that he's cast upon her, that she's this innocent, virginal,
She's
whatever,
disgusting.
that he needs to protect and shelter at all costs, because at the same time, that's what he wishes he would have done with Lola. He sees himself as that. Lola, it's like, because he says, you cannot defy the conventions of God and man and not suffer the consequences. That's how he's essentially interpreted the fact that they made love outside of marriage, and oops, she got pregnant. You know?
clearly everyone in college is doing it.
Yeah. So, you know, and yeah. So, and even the way, like, how Lola interprets that night versus how, like, she's just like the sky lying on the grass. And you could see, like, as she's trying to say, like, wasn't it romantic? He's basically, like, he doesn't see it.
He's withdrawing.
Yeah, he doesn't see
further
it because
into
he's
it.
like,
But when
that's
he
the night
sweats,
my
I can tell
life
it's
got
a little-
ruined for the worse.
Yeah.
He had to give up going to school. He had to marry her. you know.
She didn't get to go to school
Exactly,
either.
and she even says, you know, if, you know,
She can't expand
she
her
mentions the
vocabulary beyond
miscarriage
that
and says, it's unfortunate you married me because, you know, we miscarried. So one would assume shortly after they got married, she may have miscarried. So it's almost like, well, had it happened sooner, you would not have had to have ruined your life. So it is very heartbreaking. There's a lot
Kids.
that's brought up.
The movie is a unintentionally great advertisement for birth control.
Also, you can cut this out because this might be a little inappropriate, but
Nice.
women's fashion has come a long way. I'm gonna say that.
What?
The 50s
Amanda,
are
you were
nice.
acting like that was horribly offensive.
Yeah,
wasn't.
you've said so many worse things today.
I'm not gonna.
You can not like
Percy,
50s
when I
fashion,
see
it's
her,
fine.
I understood the fashion back then. Like, I understand, but her bra, like, I hate those bras so
Bullet
much.
bras.
And I was the bullet bras. And I was
Oh,
like,
with Mary?
I'm like, I
Yeah.
hate this so much. I'm like, who? I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I gotta look up who created these things and just be like, why?
Oh, no,
Why?
Because it's men.
You know-
it's men
was
making
men.
clothing.
You
Yeah,
know,
but women
I
could have
hate those
said
bras.
no.
I'm like,
There was
Women
a-
wore it, and that's what sort of like.
I know, yeah.
Look, product is based on need. If there was no need for the
The
product,
need was,
the bullet
like,
bra would
cones.
not have been invented.
It's codes.
Counterpoint. Why do so many women's pants not have pockets?
That's
Women need
what
pockets.
I'm
we have
saying.
purses.
How
But
dare you?
I have never met a woman who's like, thank God these pants don't have pockets.
I have dresses.
I-
have
that has
dresses
never
that
happened.
have pockets built into them now, and they're the best things ever.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Life.
You
Yes.
give a
Do you-
woman a dress with pockets, they're so excited.
Like, oh my God!
I'm
I know how you
generalizing,
feel. The pants
but
I was wearing yesterday,
Amanda.
the jeans have the look of the jean pockets in the front. The only pockets that are open are like the butt pockets.
Yeah,
And the front
what
ones,
is
and
that?
I keep going
You
for
give
it.
me
I'm
a
like, I
fake
hate
pocket?
this.
Do you remember the early
Fake
2000s
pockets.
trend where there were the jeans with just like, it looked like just blank butts, no pockets in the back, and people were saying like, let's not bring this horror back. So you see like a catalog. It looks so weird without having the butt pockets. But I also think it's because most women carry purses, so the idea is that we don't need deep pockets. Like, let's be
But
fair.
little did they know
have
that
purses
deep
for-
pockets are what we want. This is true
Everyone
quality.
has phones
Deep
now.
pockets.
Well, yes, I am all for the pocket.
Have you seen those TikTok videos with
Can
the
never
girls
have
who
enough
just do
pockets.
nothing but sticks into their purses?
Oh,
It is
no.
the weirdest. It's mind-numbingly stupid. They're like, okay, pack my purse with me today, and they have like all these little carry cases. Like, I have to have my little like lens wipes, and I have to have my little razor. I'm like, why
Every
are you
time
bringing
you
a
tell
razor?
me about TikTok videos, Amanda, I
no
I
space
feel like
in
I
my purse
found
anymore
out a
to put my
different
phone.
universe.
Yeah, and I also wonder, like, why?
But actually, I
Does
like
that
those
exist?
Some people
organizational
like the
videos.
organization aspect of. They're like, oh, you're so organized.
I have seen this woman. She was like, "Let's organize." And I know this is going way
They're
off
like,
topic.
here's my mini perfume collection. I'm like, why?
They
Organizing,
organize
I
their
can see.
kitchens, and I like this is awesome. Let's organize the sweets for the kids. So like they dump them in these glass jars.
Some of
toss
them
out
don't
the
make
plastic.
sense though. Like
It's
when
really
they
nice.
dump the
I did
orange
start putting
juice.
my cereal in a plastic container, and it is top notch.
That makes sense because it's like because of the airtight seal like keeps it
I
fresher
see,
longer.
like there's
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of
about
things
it.
in my life I've
But I don't
never
like it with the
explored.
juices.
I've-
It's like why?
I've been seeing things online where
you
it's just
seeing?
like these bizarre
What have you seen?
videos.
I was hoping you were gonna stop it. I've been
Seeing
seeing
things.
Continue. Sorry.
I'm seeing colors. Right now. But
Good.
oh no, I've been seeing these videos that are just like summaries of movies with like a text to speech voice over it,
I
giving
hate
like
those.
bizarre.
Oh yeah.
It's like, who is this for?
I like the ones that
Who
show like whole
enjoys
episodes,
this?
but they cut them down to pieces, so I'll never have to watch The Good Doctor in my life.
What? Why are you watching summaries of The Good Doctor?
It's
Yeah.
not even a summary. No, they actually play
I-
like full like episodes. They
I
just
do
cut
th-
them like part one, part
I
two,
do
part
that
three, part four.
too, and I think it's an excellent way to determine whether I want to watch something by having it spoiled for me.
Did
I
you
do
know that's
that
the
too.
kid from?
Bates
Like-
Motel.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
I didn't know that.
I don't
As
like
someone-
Bates Motel. I don't
I
know.
didn't
I
know-
think
not-
the mom's really good on. He's a good actor too, but like
Well,
I
he was
just
the kid
He's
from
been
like
in
The
other
Sixth
stuff.
Sense and stuff
No.
like
he's
that.
No, it's
Charlie
not
and the
different-
Chocolate
different
Factory.
kid.
Yeah, I
That-
was like-
not Sixth Sense is Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah, it's
Oh
like-
yeah, sorry.
kid.
No, it's the kid from like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and stuff like that. And I was like, that's not him. And they're like, yeah.
But
Bates Motel's just weird. I don't know.
it is. But
it's
Vera Farmiga is excellent.
She's
in it.
very good. Yeah.
But yeah, Simone, I appreciate that you pulled out a melodrama pick because I find melodramas fascinating and just like I don't know.
Wait till
I
you-
do like melodramas.
Wait, I had
This
a
one's
pick
just
for the
working.
musical because I figured I spent 2 hours and 15 minutes of my life watching it. And now I'm going to change it again because I want the rest of
I
you
saw
to
you change it like
experience-
3
Yo, I
times.
love that.
Go
It's
for
like I
Om
watch this
Shanti
stuff
Om.
every-
I saw that one and I got really excited because I've heard that movie goes hard.
Force
Wonderful.
me to watch your movies.
FYI, you have Joe to I will give it to you.
It
because-
is like 3 hours, but it at least seems
No,
crazy.
It is 2 hours and 15 minutes of the best time of your life. I
As long as it's
cannot wait.
good, yeah.
Katie picked Sound of Music. That's like 3 hours. So like,
Okay, I'm going
I
back
could-
to Om Shanti Om, and you're
could
going to
change it.
enjoy
I
it
was
with
just
me.
don't have to
saying.
change it.
No,
I've never
I
seen
was just
Sound of
saying like there's precedent. Om Shanti Om, fine. Like yeah.
Okay, great.
I have
This is
the
going
Sound
to
of
be
Music
fun.
if you want to borrow it.
Thank you.
Would you mind, Amanda, since you have it?
I
up,
hear
could
the
you-
hills are alive with
because-
it, so
Because I don't really know how much.
They have
musical
eyes,
that
too.
would be considered.
It gets pretty
It is
crazy in
really
the back
good, but I
half.
think the Om Shanti Om would probably fit the theme better. Would you mind if you could update it on the doc?
Oh,
for
sure.
me?
Yeah.
I think it'll fit the.
It says it's a musical too.
Yeah, like it'll definitely fit it
I-
better.
I thought of this movie several times while watching this, but if you ever want a good parody of melodramas, check out Polyester. It's a John Waters movie. It is next level. It's so good. You can tell the man truly loves Douglas Sirk, but is just having the best time
So-
goofing on it.
I only saw pictures, but it looks pretty unhinged.
Om
Divine
Shanti
is the
Om
main
the
character.
highest-grossing Hindi
Amazing
film ever.
performance.
That makes sense. Shah Rukh Khan is like he's a big Bollywood.
He's got a new one
actor.
out. It's playing at some AMC's and stuff. I kind of
I'm sort of conflicted on him as an actor, but he's one of the major cons in the Bollywood industry because there's a lot of industries in India. But it's fun. Like I was highly entertained, and at some point I was highly disappointed. Then I got highly entertained again. So I figured if I had to go through that roller coaster of emotions, so do the rest of you. Welcome.
Thank
This is
you.
going to be fun. Yes, because I was doubting my choice. But anyway, so do we have any other thoughts? If not, I'll lead us out because we are going past 3.
No, yeah, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Like I said, the daddy, her calling him daddy thing,
Oh my god.
just irritated me a little
Okay,
bit.
I think
I need a
Daddy
shirt.
and Doc are both crazy things to call your husband.
Agreed.
Like Doc, I feel like. I mean, that's his name, I guess.
No, that's
but
his
I didn't-
title.
That's his title.
But it says like his character name is Doc Blank.
Yeah, but like it's
Yeah.
in quotes.
I
No,
lost
I
my
didn't see it.
notes.
It's not Doc is not a real first name.
It could.
Oh, you're right, Doc Delaney. Okay,
It
all
could,
right.
Joe.
There's some like
Let's-
channels
What
that
would it be
didn't have
short
the
for?
things over it.
What
Doctor.
happened?
No, if it was a name.
Doctor.
It's like yeah, you can name your kid Doctor, but like generally
stupid.
speaking,
Doctor.
It could be though. It's understandable.
Doctorian.
I just also
Doctavius.
he did not say her
Doctavius.
name was Lola until like 40 minutes in, and it
Legit.
blew
Legit,
my
I was
mind.
like, what is this woman's name?
Well, you didn't care much for it. Does it really matter?
I guess not.
Okay.
And it's like it
I
makes sense you
sympathize
wouldn't be
with her.
saying her name, but I was just like,
Look.
whoa, what? That's her name?
Look, I sympathize with her. It
I'm just
doesn't mean
kidding,
she's
Amanda.
not
I'm
annoying.
kidding.
Do you, Amanda?
Yeah.
Do
Oh,
I do.
this
I'm not
director.
gonna relive my experiences on here, but I'm not like.
The director of this is Daniel Mann, and I think he has a funny career because early on he directed 2 movies that got nominated for the Palme d'Or, including this one. And then later on he did Willard, the movie about killer rats,
Yo, I love Willard. That was
Willard,
the creepy thin man from.
and Matilda, which is a god-awful comedy about a boxing kangaroo. So, like, I think it's funny. That's where he ended up.
Thank you for letting me know because I was trying because the actor who's in Willard was in one of the Guillermo del Toro shorts.
I was so happy. I was like, yo, he came back and he's still creepy. And I'm like, yeah.
Caspian Glover?
I was like, he's back and he does an H.P. Lovecraft one. It was a Lovecraftian painter. And I was like, oh.
Isn't he also the silent man in Charlie's Angels?
He's the creepy thin man in Charlie's Angels. And that's how I'll always know him because he's always creepy thin man. No matter what he does with rats, creepy thin man.
His paintings though in
Were
that short
beautiful.
were amazing, but I wonder how
beautiful.
true they were to
want
the
them.
time that's being depicted. But that's probably something
The
else.
work
There
on
were
it
crazy
is-
paintings every time.
And also,
You look at Hieronymus Bosch. That guy was going nuts in the Middle Ages.
paintings throughout history too are also the way that you teach painting to people. It's always been passed on. Is you watch other people's works
Yeah.
and you imitate. usually it's like when they tell you that imitation is the greatest form of flattery. It's true in the art world, is because sometimes you learn techniques through other people. So I do think it's true what he would have been having. And there are macabre artworks during that time period as well. that
Okay,
would
yeah,
have
that's
reflected.
what I meant. I should have
He
clarified
was
it
just
during
very
that
special.
time. But
I need those. I need that.
all right, so thank you for joining us for part 2 of our classic watch series. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, we enjoy reading comments, so feel free to leave them, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.